Today I want to talk to you about on market deals. So a lot of times, let's say that you have a small budget, or you don't or you don't have a budget, you have no budget, or you've run out of the budget in the month. How can you actually still make money, right? How can you actually still make money and do deals? And the answer that I found is on market deals with high equity and motivation. So today we're going to talk about how to find them, how to qualify them, call listing agents the right way, and how to systematize about 90% of the work. Okay, so here's where we're going to be covering today. But before I get to that, I want to go ahead and show some proof, because obviously showing proof is important of that. What I'm actually showing y'all actually is something that I've done and I've tested. And so right here's a settlement statement for, I guess, $11,200. Here's another one for less, probably about 6,500. So without without saying too much, I mean, these deals are not going to be probably your whale deals. They're not going to be your biggest deals, but they do help supplement whatever you're doing. So like if you ran out of funds for the month, or you're just starting out and kind of getting your feet wet into this is a good resource to use. And so we're going to go ahead and jump right in it. Let me share here. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. And let's see. Yep. Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? Preparation and what you need, how to filter for ideal sale listings, which is key. I see a lot of content out there regarding on-market wholesaling. There's like 100,000 listings out there. Like, how do you differentiate? And I can only talk from experience, right? And so we focus on wholesale and novations done virtually. That is what we do. And so we found a way to kind of filter for those very inexpensively, very budget friendly. I'm going to break down what that looks like in the school community. And then the pipeline stages, meaning like, what is the flow so that you can actually have a production line on this? And what does that look like talking to those agents, right? And how to approach agents without being scammy. Obviously, they're getting bombarded with AI calls, with text messages, with people that are not serious, with automated LOI letters and systems. And to be honest, that doesn't work. Like, you want to reach out, there's a process, so we're going to be talking about it. But if they don't believe what you're saying, if you don't come across as somebody that actually does what they say they're going to do, they're just going to ignore your calls. And then systematizing and automating 90% of it. So no worries, all the resources are going to be posted in the school community. So let's get to it. So what do you need before you start? Okay, you want to identify a metro area that has a big box wholesale brokerage relationship, right? You want to partner with one of these big box wholesale brokerages. Why? Because they have a volume of agents, they have a volume of deals, they do have capital to close, right? And they're boots on the ground. So they're motivated and aligned with you to make these deals work. It's a relationship type of transaction business, right? It's not going to be probably your $20,000 or $80,000 type of transaction, but it's going to help you pay for marketing, pay for softwares, keep the lights on. And it's something that essentially you have unlimited supply on. You just need a phone, a phone to make calls on, and how to identify these high equity stale listings, like kind of how to know which ones to go after, and have a system, right? So you need a relationship. So if you have not done that yet, that is the first step, is establishing a relationship with an acquisition agent of a big box wholesale brokerage. You may go online, find different opinions about them. Obviously, it depends. They're independent agents, but they can be your boots on the ground. They access super lock boxes. They have MLS access, and they're motivated to just get more deals and volume, right? So beautiful relationship to start off. All right. You want to get a market standard purchase and sales agreement template. What does that mean? These 1 to 2 pages that we use often off market with sellers is not going to fly with agents. You're going to get shut down. You need to not only have the purchase and sales agreement for that state and that MLS, if different, typically it's by state, but you also want to know how to fill it out because there's regulations on different states, right? And so you want to have a conversation with that specific acquisition agent and build that relationship. Like, listen, I'm going to be finding deals on the MLS. They're going to be high equity. I'm going to be making a lot of offers, and we're going to be working together. I'm virtual. Your boots on the ground. You're aligned, with me to make deals. Keep the lights on. Pay for whatever marketing we're doing. Let's do this, right? And then the proof of funds or hard money pre-approval. Typically, these acquisition agents, they can get you a pre-approval letter for you to use. The other rebuttal that you can use whenever you get pushback from listing agents is you can essentially say, listen, we do buy cash, but we use private capital, which essentially we don't put any financing. We don't put financing contingency on our contracts because we don't. And our investors want to remain private. That's worked well. If you find yourself dealing with an agent that's like really pressed on that, then you're going to have to be resourceful in getting some sort of pre-approval letter. But typically your acquisition agent can help with that. So don't let that stop you. Okay. And then what we're using, there's different tools out there. There's batch leads or prop streaming. I like batch leads. That's because of the interface. And right now, the plan that we're using is very inexpensive. It's like $39. It's like the light version. So with that said, it gets you everything that you need to actually make these calls and actually systematizing it without killing, your relationship with your listing agent. So I'm going to be leaving some resources, in the module here. So hopefully it helps out. Okay. So how do you find the right listing? Okay. Like how do you find the right listing? So you want to filter for motivated and high equity, but really motivation is just stale listing. Like it hasn't moved in, over 60 days. So we target residential. You can try other types like fourplexes or stuff like that, but we target residential because our acquisition agents on the boots on the ground, that's what they know most of, right? And we're looking to transact. We're looking for owner type that's an individual that has high equity. Okay, the home age, older home, right? Like pre 2005, ideally. There's some markets that there's houses that are like from 1920, 1910, and days on market, right? It's been listed 60 plus days. And you'll find that a lot of these conversations, they're jaded. The listing agents are jaded. They're tired of the listing. And that's going to work in your favor. Okay. The listing status is as is preferred. So when you look through the pictures, it's dated. It doesn't look like showroom condition, ideally, because if it's like showroom condition, they're probably not going to be that open unless they have some sort of financial or otherwise distress. But ideally, we go ahead and filter for as-is data properties. And then you want to, do the sorting. Whoever's been on the market the longest, ideally, we should be calling them all, because with this criteria, you're not going to get like a whole bunch of results per county. So we do it per county, and you also put 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It may, you may tweak it a little bit here and there, but it's not like you're going to get thousands of listings that meet the criteria. So here's kind of the 5-stage or the pipeline stages for this, right? You first of all filter and identify. You use the software to actually get that list. Now, the first filter is if the agent actually answers, because you want to have a conversation with them. You want to understand where they're at. Most agents do not answer the phone the first time, especially with all these screening tools. And so what we do is we use our workflows to actually automate this, but still keep it human, right? So we call, we text, and we're looking to get the disclosures from them, the seller's disclosure. And we just say, hey, I'm a direct cash buyer. Can you send the seller's disclosure so I can present my offer? Okay. And that's like the sequence, right? You first get your list, You reach out to these listing agents, have a conversation, because I just don't believe that sending blind offers or LOIs, most of the time, they're not even presented. You want to have a conversation with the agent. At least that's been my experience. You want to request a disclosure and say, hey, listen, I'm looking to get the disclosure so that we can make an offer. Okay. And then you want to make sure that they actually, and you ask them, you say, listen, I'm a cash buyer and an investor. I noticed that the listing has been sale. I want to ask you, are you going to present my offer? Some agents don't really even present the offers. And so I don't want you wasting time on offers that are just going to not go anywhere. Here's what you're going to say. You're going to say, listen, I'm going to present an offer. It's probably not, close to your listing price, but what I want you to do is go ahead and present it. If it doesn't make sense for your seller, then please provide a reasonable counter so that we can talk our contractors down and actually see if it makes sense. Okay. And some of them will counter, some of them will just simply decline. But you start that conversation because it doesn't end at the first no, it starts at the first no, right? Then you present that cash offer in writing. We want to go first at 50% of ARV. You can do a short option period, 7 days, or no option, depending how comfortable you feel with the deal and the earnest money. And just make sure that they present it, right? And as I was saying, once they presented, you're looking for a counter. Okay. Now, start at 50% of ARV, right? You want to start there. Okay. You can start with an option period, but as you get more experience in this, you may want to just go ahead and start with a no option period, really low. And then if they counter, you let them know, hey, I'm going to need an option period, right? And it's going to take reps. Like it's going to take volumes. It's going to take a lot of conversations. I would say that probably between 30 to 40 quality conversations that you actually end up making an offer with these listing agents is going to end up into a closing, right? Under contract closing. Okay. So don't sound like a ghetto wholesaler. I get a lot of these calls from people to our office as a house buyer, and they're like, hey, yo, I have this house. And like, bro, like brush your teeth, actually have a conversation, be well, clean, present it cleanly. Don't be ghetto talking to listing agents, and get your vocabulary right. Because people over the phone get that constant, that instant ick. If you hear like you just got out of bed, if you're just like ghetto and not talking appropriately, like just, have etiquette because it's necessary. Okay. Request the seller's disclosures. Make sure that they're going to present the offer. You should have that standard PSA format already. Make sure that you're speaking their language. So make sure that you understand how to fill it out. And we use private capital, right? We do use private capital and request a counter if rejected. Okay. Now, you want to systematize 90% of the work, right? You want to systematize 90% of the work. That's what we want to do. We want to go ahead and get our leads for that county, plug them into a system. We have our own go high level based CRM workflows for this that keeps it very clean and very neat, and it's by stages. I'll give you a preview of those stages and how they look at. I'm going to put their resources right here so you can use it and plug it into your business. And you want to have the PSAs ready to send, ready to filled out with the e-signature, which we also have in our system. And you want to have your field agent right there, because some of these deals you do need, like if you're like close in numbers or whatever, you might just want to call and be like, hey, can you go to this house and like, let's get a solid number in that we believe we can close. I mean, we're kind of like in the middle of work. So these are your partner relationships on the ground. And you just track your numbers, right? Track how many you're calling, how many are answering. If something feels off, like for example, maybe how you're coming across is something to work on. And the cool thing is that these agents, sometimes they do maybe one to two deals a year. So if you have a good experience with them, or they have a good experience with you, they're going to go ahead and call you with any as-is listings that they have, or like listing appointments that they have that need work. Okay. So about 50 offers sent, or conversations on offers, quality, offers, conversations. There's going to be some fall through. You're going to have to work through that, but It is zero marketing budget. It is very scalable, and it is essentially kind of like the way. Now, I'm going to break down all of this right here in the school community. So, invite, friends over, or if you want to see it like actually live and working it, it's going to be done like with screen sharing, because I think different platforms don't really allow to show like addresses and stuff. So make sure you're in the school community for that. Let me see here real quick if I can share with you kind of what the stages that they look, how they look at. So in your business, you're going to have a couple of different types of pipelines. You're going to have probably, let's see, okay. You're going to have your off-market pipeline, meaning direct to seller. You're going to have your MLS agent prospecting pipeline, which is what we're covering right now. And you're going to have your disposition pipeline and your vendors pipeline. So in our agent, right, direct to agent pipeline, we keep it simple. We just say, okay, listen, we have a new lead, contacted, prospecting. And so we go through these stages. Let me show you the kind of like the workflows. And by the way, I'm just going to include this in the resources here. On the workflows, when you're doing on market, new listing dialer, if the agent was contacted or they replied, did we receive the disclosures? Was the, let's make an offer. And if the agent, if you made the offer, right, following up, and it's going to either be accepted or rejected. Now we don't go ahead and just give up on rejected. We actually keep following up on rejected, because chances are that either the seller, gets more motivated, or maybe they get another listing, they get another listing appointment that is as is, right? That is as is. And so, with that said, that's kind of the overall process. Now, again, I'm going to be breaking this down in a module here in Wi-Fi Flips University. So be on the lookout when we get some updates here. And let me know in the comments what sort of questions you have, what you're struggling with. I'd love to know where you're at and what are you doing to generate right now any business without any marketing dollars, or when your marketing dollars are ran out, right? Like, what are you doing? I'd love to know. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next video. God bless.